Trump signed an executive order increasing tariff on Canada from 25% to 35%.
But we have made a few deals today that are excellent deals for the country. You know, we're taking in literally trillions of dollars for the country.
This is the moment America's closest ally said enough. And the fallout sent shockwaves through every global market. While Trump was busy pounding his chest about winning a silent economic war, erupted overnight. And here's the terrifying part. This isn't happening in Beijing or Moscow. It's happening right across the world's longest peaceful border. Canada. Yes, Canada just launched the most devastating counterstrike in modern trade history. Not with bombs, not with missiles, but with contracts, pipelines, and a single move that economists are already calling checkmate. Trump thought tariffs would break Canada. Instead, Mark Carney turned America's oldest friendship into America's biggest liability. And what you're about to see isn't just a trade war. It's the moment the lifeline of American prosperity became the knife at its throat. August 1st, 2025, midnight, Trump signs the order. Tariffs on Canadian goods jumped from 25% to 35%. To Washington, it looked like another routine flex. America bullying its smaller neighbor. Business as usual. But what came next? Nobody in D.C. saw it coming. Within 72 hours, Canada didn't just hit back. They rewrote the entire rulebook. No press conference, no angry speeches, just one cold, calculated move that economists are now calling the nuclear option. And you felt it before you even realized it. That 6.98kids hoodie at Walmart, now $10, and your morning coffee 40% higher. That weekend trip you thought you'd take to Montreal or Toronto. Forget it. Because here's the shocker. 1/3 of Canadians simply stopped crossing the border. And if you think that's pocket change, think again. Florida alone depends on 3.4 million Canadian visitors every single year. They're not just tourists, they're lifelines. They rent condos, they buy cars, they eat out, they golf, they pump over $6 billion into local economies during the crucial winter months. And in 2025, they vanished. Entire condo complexes sat empty. Restaurants shuttered. Local mayors went on TV begging Washington to fix it. Meanwhile, in Ottawa, silence. No threats, no tantrums, just calm execution. That's when it hit me. This isn't tariffs. This isn't tough talk. This is economic warfare. And for the first time in modern history, America isn't winning. Think of it like this. Imagine your neighbor suddenly charges you extra every time you borrow their lawnmower. Annoying, right? But instead of arguing, you just buy your own mower. Make friends with every other neighbor on the block and never speak to them again. Except this lawnmower isn't $200 at Home Depot. It's $847 billion in annual trade. For decades, the US-Canada relationship was so stable, it was boring. Cross-border factories shared power. Grids, supply chains so integrated that a single car part might cross the border 7 times before becoming a finished vehicle. The world's longest undefended border wasn't just symbolic. It was the backbone of North American prosperity. And then Trump ripped it apart with 5 words. He sneered and called Canada the 51st state. That moment was a spark, because to Canadians, it wasn't just an insult. It was a declaration. A declaration that Washington no longer saw them as partners, but as property. And overnight, the quiet, dependable neighbors stopped being predictable. That changed everything. Meet Mark Carney, former governor of the Bank of Canada, former governor of the Bank of England, now Canada's Prime Minister. This isn't some career politician. This is the man who's orchestrated currency wars, managed the 2008 financial crisis, and steered Britain through Brexit. And Trump, he picked a fight with the wrong economist. While Trump played checkers, slapping tariffs and expecting quick, Sorener's Carney was playing 4D chess. His strategy wasn't about shouting back. It was about patience, quietly building, strength from within, and then letting America collapse under its own weight. Step 1. Diversification at warp speed. From May 2024 to May 2025, Canada slashed its export dependence on the U.S. from 78% to 68%. That's a 10-point drop. In 1 year, numbers economists thought were impossible. Where did those goods go? Gold exports to the UK jumped 473%. EU trade surged. Mexico, Japan, Australia all became major partners almost overnight. But here's the real genius. Step 2. The resource leverage play. Canada isn't just maple syrup and lumber. It controls some of the largest untapped reserves of lithium, cobalt, nickel, and rare earths. The raw ingredients that power your iPhone keep Teslas on the road and make us fighter jets fly. Now, here's the kicker. China already controls 80% of global rare earth processing. But Canada has both the raw resources and the democratic stability America needs. And Carney's master stroke. While Trump was imposing tariffs, Canada was fast-tracking mining approvals, building processing plants, and cutting deals with allies. They're no longer just selling rocks. They're selling refined ready-to-house materials, bypassing China entirely. Meanwhile, the Pentagon is panicking. The U.S. Department of Defense has already thrown $500 million at projects to reduce reliance on Beijing. But those efforts will take years to pay. Canada can deliver tomorrow, and they know it. Here's what this really means for you personally. Every piece of technology you own, your iPhone, your laptop, the charger in your wall, every EV charging station on the highway, every wind turbine powering clean energy, they all run on materials that either come from authoritarian China or democratic Canada. And when I say depend, I don't mean optional. I mean the U.S. military-industrial complex literally cannot function without these resources. F-35 fighter jets, rare. Earth's advanced radar systems, rare. Earth's satellites keeping your GPS live, rare earths. Now, here's the gut punch. Trump just slapped tariffs on the one ally capable of making America independent from China's stranglehold. Think about that. The only democratic supplier on the planet alienated in a single move. Let that sink in. But Carney wasn't done. If tariffs were supposed to break Canada's back, he flipped the script with what I call the politeness offensive. Ontario Premier Doug Ford started publicly shaming companies slapping Canadian flags on products that weren't made in Canada. Overnight, Buy Ontario, Buy Canada became more than a slogan. It became a movement, not fueled by rage, fueled by pride. Here's the genius. Instead of wasting energy on anti-American protests, Canada focused inward on unity. It wasn't anger. It was psychological warfare dressed as patriotism. Every Canadian dollar spent at home was a quiet weapon against Trump's tariffs. Meanwhile, across the border, American families were discovering what tariff economics really means. Car prices up 4 to 8%, shoes up 40%, clothing up 38%. Even Walmart, America's discount giant, admitted higher shelf prices are inevitable. Ford Motor Company, it paid $1 billion in tariff costs in just months. Procter & Gamble, after absorbing the pain as long as possible, finally raised prices on the basics: soap, shampoo, toothpaste. This wasn't just Wall Street pain anymore. This was Main Street bleeding. But here's where the story takes a jaw-dropping turn. While Trump was slamming the door on Canada, he quietly cracked it open for Beijing. He announced a 90-day tariff truce with China. Let that sink in. China, America's biggest strategic rival, got breathing room. Canada, America's closest ally, got higher tariffs, and Beijing didn't waste a second. In those 90 days, they expanded zero tariff access to dozens of African nations, cementing control over global supply chains. While Washington fumbled, they still dominate rare earth processing. They still control the lifeblood of modern technology. And now, they've multiplied their international partners. The strategic implications are staggering. America effectively handed its fiercest competitor a timeout to regroup while punching its most reliable partner in the face. And here's the part Trump never saw coming. Carney saw the contradiction and he exploited it brilliantly. What we're witnessing isn't a trade dispute anymore. This is the real-time dismantling of North American economic relationships. And the fallout goes way beyond tariffs. The USMCA, the backbone of US-Canada trade, is now hanging by a thread. Trump's team is threatening to reopen negotiations, early waving tariffs around like a baseball bat. But here's the twist. They never anticipated. Canada isn't breaking. It's bending the rules of the game. Their economy may be smaller, but it's proving shockingly resilient. Why a banking system ranked among the world's most stable? A resource base that reads like a grocery list for the future. Lithium, nickel, cobalt, uranium, and international partners lining up as Trump alienates America. Meanwhile, the United States is discovering just how dependent its state actually is on Canada. The aluminum in your beer can, Canadian. The power that runs American factories, Canadian. The auto parts keeping Detroit alive, Canadian. Every disruption hurts us industries as much, if not more, than Canadian ones. And now the political pressure is building. States like Michigan, New York, Washington, and Montana are bleeding jobs and choking on higher costs. Their congressmen are under fire from angry businesses, screaming about disrupted supply chains. Trump promised to punish Canada. Instead, he punished his own voters. But here's Carney's real masterstroke. It isn't about tariffs. It's about minerals. Canada's critical mineral strategy isn't just trade policy. It's a full-blown reordering of global resource power. Think about it. The entire future, clean energy, AI, electric vehicles, advanced weapons, runs on lithium, cobalt, and rare earths. Canada has them. China controls processing. And America just slapped tariffs on the one democratic country that could free it from China's grip. Carney's bet is simple but devastating. Either Washington wakes up and realizes Alienating Canada while fighting China is suicidal, or Canada keeps building. New alliances that permanently reduce dependence on the U.S. And here's the part. Nobody in Trump's camp seems to get. Either way, Canada wins. If America comes crawling back, Canada holds the leverage. If not, Asia and Europe snap up the supply and America gets locked out of the future economy. This isn't just policy. It's checkmate on America's industrial base. Let me bring this right back to your kitchen table, your grocery bill, your gas prices, your next family vacation. Every part of your daily life is now being reshaped by decisions made in Ottawa and Washington. And here's the brutal truth politicians won't say out loud. These price hikes aren't temporary. They're not a blip. They're structural, locked-in changes that will last for years, no matter who wins the next election. Why? Because Canada isn't just retaliating, it's rebuilding. The global map. Those UK gold exports, permanent. The EU's new mineral partnerships locked in. The expanded Asian markets growing by the month. This isn't a bargaining chip. It's a realignment. And here's the gut punch. Something even deeper has broken. The goodwill between Americans and Canadians, built over 150 years of trust, just cracked. And trust isn't something you patch up with a handshake. It takes decades to rebuild, if it ever comes back at all. Trump promised toughness. What he delivered is a permanent fracture with America's closest ally. And the bill is landing right on your kitchen table. And here's the part Washington doesn't want to admit. This isn't happening in isolation. From Europe to Asia, countries are being forced into a brutal choice: cave under American pressure or fall deeper into China's orbit. But Canada's response, it's something new. A third path: strategic independence through diversification. And guess what? Other U.S. allies are watching closely. Because if Canada, America's closest partner, can resist us, economic bullying while still protecting its sovereignty, it sets a dangerous precedent for Washington. Think about it. Japan, South Korea, Australia even. European partners, they're all asking the same question. If Canada can say no to America, why can't we? That's the bigger picture. America's ability to dominate allies through economic leverage is collapsing in real time. The so-called multipolar world, it's not coming. It's already here. And the irony? The country proving it isn't China or Russia. It's Canada. So, what happens next? Trump has two choices: double down, escalate, and risk permanently torching America's most stable relationship. Or swallow his pride and admit that some battles aren't worth winning if they cost you the war. Because let's be clear, Carney just proved something terrifying. For Washington, small countries can punch above their weight if they know how to play the game. Canada didn't need a massive military. They didn't need global economic dominance. They needed strategy, patience, and the guts to call Trump's bluff. And they did. So here's the real question. Not whether Canada survives this trade war, but whether the lasted ship that defined North American prosperity for generations survives. Trump. One man's ego versus 75 years of stability. Who wins? Now, I want to hear from you. Does Trump back down, or does he push even harder until something snaps? Does Canada's strategy become a model for other U.S. allies? Or will American economic pressure eventually break their resolve? Drop your predictions in the comments and pay attention to this, because next week we're pulling the curtain back on. Why? Beijing is watching this conflict more closely than anyone else. Spoiler: what Canada just did plays straight into China's hands. So, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell, and share this video with anyone who still thinks trade wars are easy to win. Because, as you've seen in the brutal game of economic chess, it's the quiet moves that kill empires.